Hey everybody, welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Michael Noland and, well, welcome to Season 3 for the channel. That's right, I've been on YouTube for 2 years. Your response has been fantastic, and I thought, what better way to start off Season 3 than to do a top 10 list? And then I thought to myself, nah, this is Season 3. It's got to be a top 15 list at the very least, right? And then I thought, I'll even add a couple of bonuses in there for you. So, in the words of the great Aristotle himself, let's get this party started. All right, enough of that nonsense. Let's get on to this list. Now, just to identify this properly, I want to let you know, these are all albums that were released around this time last year, right up until this time this year. Okay, so keep that in mind. There may be a few of these albums or singles that actually got a 2022 release, but their day in the sunshine was in 2023 for the vast majority of these songs. All right, so at number 15, we've got a brand new band, one that I've sang praises for on this very channel, the band Dirty Honey. They've got a brand new album out, folks. It was just released November 3rd, and they've got 3 singles off of this album. The first, Can't Find the Brakes, also the name of the album, would be a bonus disc that could have easily made this list. And the same could be said about Won't Take Me Alive. But you see, they have this third single that is out that really is the cream of the crop of this album. It's my favorite track on the album. Of course, I'm talking about Don't Put Out the Fire. So at number 15, Don't Put Out the Fire by Dirty Honey. All right, at number 14 from the album, Patient Number 9 by Ozzy Osbourne is the single Patient Number 9. All I can say is holy shades of Alice Cooper. This cut has got it all. There's a spookiness to it, right? His vocals are impeccable. And of course, you have Jeff Beck, my third greatest guitarist of all time, on this cut. It had to make the list. All right, the lucky yet sometimes unlucky position, number 13, came from a band that I almost didn't put on this list, all right? Now, I gave this album a review, or at least I gave 1/3 of this album a review, and of course I'm talking about Autumn by the Smashing Pumpkins. I liked the first disc, but when the other discs were released, I found myself losing interest in the project. Having said that, that does not take away from the brilliance of their single, Beguiled. Number 13, Beguiled by the Smashing Pumpkins. At number 12, from the album Rock Float from Jethro Tull. And of course, I'm talking about Hammer on Hammer. You know, this album in general is such a step up for Tull because of past outings and past Ian Anderson outings. His voice is so much better on this album. Not like it used to be back in the day, but quite good. And his flute playing is impeccable as always. The best lead flautist in the world, Ian Anderson. And of course, Hammer on Hammer from the Rock Float album, number 12. All right, so at number 11, just barely missing out in the top 10, is from the 72 Seasons album by Metallica. And of course, I'm talking about the wonderful If Darkness Had a Sun. If I have any critiques on this album or this cut, is that I love the fact that they're going into heavy progressions, on this album. But sometimes it seems they spend a little bit too much time changing gears and all of that, or at least for my taste. Still, one of the best albums out, though, in 2023, no doubt. Okay, now we're into the top 10. Who got the 10th position? Well, with the help of the Everly Brothers, a tune written in the 50s, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, from their Raising the Roof album, The Price of Love is number 10. Now, the reason I chose this as my number 10 position on this video, folks, is you've got to go back and listen to the Everly Brothers' original version of this song, because even though you might think that that's the definitive version, it isn't for me. That's all I can say. Robert Plant and Alison Krauss has reinvented this song. This is now one of my favorite songs in rock and roll, rather than an obscure Everly Brothers track for me. And I am a big Everly Brothers fan. Number 9 goes to Living It Up by Paul Rodgers off of his Midnight Rose album. And that's another thing. You know, I did a couple of videos on him. I didn't get a lot of response on those videos. Listen, folks, if you have not heard this album, this is a great solo album, and it sounds most of the time exactly like Bad Company. So if you're a Bad Company fan, you owe it to yourself to listen to this album. And Living It Up is just merely a taste, because I think there are even better cuts on the album. All right, from Living It Up to Fire It Up. That's right, in the number 8 position, Def Leppard from their Diamond Star Halos album. And not for the last time on this list, this song is so great, folks. You know, when I first heard this album, I go, there's a difference to them. What is it? And then I all of a sudden understood. It is a maturity on this album that this band has achieved, all right? It's almost like a fog of what they were back in the day. And I love the fog. That's all I can say. It's like a nylon. It's refined this band, their age, and they're living in their age, and yet still offering us fantastic rock and roll like this. Okay, so at number 7, I chose the single Angry from the Hackney Diamonds album by the Rolling Stones, another band that will appear on this list later. Now, this single has gotten its fair share of criticism, many claiming it's an okay song, but nothing special, nothing to write home about. But for me, it's always been about the melody. It's in the song. This song is a great song, and it just so happens to kick ass. So Angry by the Rolling Stones at number 7. At number 6, a third band that will be on this list later on. Of course, I'm talking about Yes, from their fantastic album Mirror to the Sky, all right? I'm talking about their single, All Connected. And you know what? This could have easily gone higher, but because of where the list goes from this point, I had to place it here. Now, this album gets criticism and praise from critics, it seems. First of all, the criticism. There's only Steve Howe left from the classic lineup of Yes, or at least the classic lineup for me was always anybody you found on Close to the Edge. But then there's those who are saying, but it sounds so yes-ish, right? And I'm one of them. I consider this, after long deliberation, a Yes canon album. So at number 6, All Connected by Yes from Mirror to the Sky. All right, so now we're into the top 5, and as promised, Def Leppard is back on the list with Take What You Want. Now, not only is this a great single, this is my favorite cut on that album, and in my opinion, Def Leppard has produced us one hell of a quality classic rock album with Diamond Star Halos. All right, so now at number 4, here's a surprise for you guys, because I haven't really covered these guys on my channel, although I am a major fan of them. but I'm only 2 years old, folks, all right? So give me some time and I'll be catching up on acts like this. Of course, I'm talking about the wonderful single from Tears for Fears off of their The Tipping Point album, and the single The Tipping Point. This song, this piece, is an exercise in melody development, harmony working into great orchestration, as Tears for Fears always has supplied us. I was a fan of them even when Noland was the only boy in the band. So, in my opinion, number 4, The Tipping Point by Tears for Fears. All right, folks, that gets us to the top 3, the creme de la creme, and the number 3 spot goes to The Sweet Sounds of Heaven by the Rolling Stones off of their Hackney Diamonds album. Now, this track has gotten its fair share of criticism too, with some feeling that it's nothing but, I don't know, Give Me Shelter Part 2. I don't really hear that, other than it has a female singer backing Jagger much in the same way as that track. But you know what? I'm not even a Lady Gaga fan by any stretch of the imagination, and I love her on this track. This track is one of the Rolling Stones' finest singles to me, and I absolutely love it. Now, for the number 2 position, you know what, folks? For the longest time, I could have swore this was going to pick up the number 1 position as the greatest classic rock single of 2023. Of course, I'm talking about the wonderful Cut from the Stars by the classic prog rock band Yes, off of, again, their Mirror to the Sky album. You know, this album has it all, folks. I mean, you've got bonus content, you've got the cover art by Roger Dean, and the only thing I miss is, at this point, in a realistic fashion, is John Anderson's input. But the more I hear this album, the more I hear Canon Yes. All right, so that leads us to the top spot. What possible classic rock single could have beat these wonderful tracks? Well, by this band, it was just Friday for them. And of course, I'm talking about Now and Then by the Beatles off of their kinda, sorta Blue album. Now, I know I owe you guys a rundown on the Blue album. I've given you some hints on that. But because of the holidays, I'm running a little bit behind, but that's coming real soon. But you know, this particular cut, when I think of this cut, I think of my brother Gary. He messaged me when he heard it, and he said that at first he didn't care for it, right? And then it just kept being played on his radio, right? Now, he said it is such ear candy that it's just kind of bore its way into his very being. And I've got to tell you, that's kind of how it hit with me, especially when I listened for weeks to John's original demo. But the more I heard it, the more this song is a different song from his demo. And as far as I'm concerned, the demo version is by John Lennon, and this version is by Lennon and McCartney, because McCartney's stamp is all over this track in so many ways. The Beatles at their best? Yes. Their best single? No, of course not. But this is a classic Beatle track in every sense of the word. And now I want to hear Free as a Bird and Real Love given the same treatment. All right, I hope you enjoyed the video tonight, folks. If you did, I always ask this, but please give it a thumbs up. That helps the YouTube algorithm better identify the channel. It shows up in more people's feeds, all right? And if you haven't subscribed to the channel as of yet, that's easy. All you have to do is hit that subscribe to the tribe button, tap that top bell icon, and you'll be notified of all my videos. Now, my question to the tribe tonight is, what tracks do you agree with me on, and what tracks do you think need to be replaced, and what would be your suggestion for such a list? Okay, I'm Michael Noland. This is The Bottom Line. And together, folks, in the comments, we are the tribe.